For the first time, the female soldiers attempted to bathe completely naked in the camp, only to unexpectedly encounter a German squad quietly infiltrating the compound. Yet the camp sentries remained utterly oblivious to the approaching danger. Unless something went wrong, disaster was imminent. After neutralizing the sentries, the German squad quietly approached the barracks and opened fire on the Soviet soldiers inside. But once they gained control of the situation, they discovered the garrison consisted entirely of Soviet female soldiers.
The unexpected sight left the German men drooling with desire.
Some couldn't resist, grabbing a female soldier and forcing themselves upon her. But the sober German captain, Steiner, warned all his men that this was wartime and strictly forbade any misconduct. Despite this, some reckless soldiers ignored the warning, instinctively trying to drag the Soviet girls off for exercise. However, they were about to pay a heavy price for their rash actions, for they likely didn't realize the dire situation they were in. It turned out that just half an hour earlier, when the German command headquarters ordered all units to retreat, only Steiner's platoon had received no message. This was because their superior officer harbored deep resentment toward Steiner for disobeying orders. When the messenger prepared to relay the retreat command to Steiner's squad, the officer abruptly ripped out the telephone line, intending to use the enemy's hands to eliminate this insubordinate subordinate. But Steiner never imagined such treacherous motives from above. When the main Soviet force launched a full assault on their position, they discovered they couldn't contact headquarters at all. Left with no choice, Steiner and his men had to grit their teeth and fight back. However, they were no match for the overwhelming Soviet force. Soon, they couldn't withstand the relentless bombardment from enemy planes and tanks, and were forced to fight their way out of the position. By then, their forces were dwindling to a mere handful, trapped within enemy-controlled territory. While retreating to find headquarters, Steiner and his men stumbled upon a Soviet-held outpost. Seizing the enemy position by surprise led to the scene depicted at the beginning of the video. But these German soldiers, unable to control their primal urges, were about to meet their end. Resting outside the door, Steiner suddenly heard a subordinate's agonized scream. Entering the room, she found him clutching his groin in agony on a stool. Spotting a blood-soaked cleaver on the floor, Steiner instantly understood what had transpired. Just then another soldier, in the midst of his own pleasure, let out a blood-curdling scream. When Steiner arrived, she found the soldier clutching his groin in agony, sitting on the floor. Clearly, he too had just suffered a fatal blow. Seeing the situation unfold, Shaitina knew they had to get out of this trouble spot fast or risk being wiped out by the enemy right there. To avoid suspicion, she forced the Soviet women to strip off their uniforms. They decided to don the enemy's uniforms, hoping to blend in and slip past any future Soviet checkpoints they encountered.